Rarely in our recent history have we had a better match of a president with certain skills to a situation with certain requirements than Donald Trump versus China over the trade issue. The author of The Art of the Deal really knows how to go about it, and he's being very, very effective. The Chinese had moved ahead with the U.S. to negotiate to a certain level, and they assumed that that would basically be the deal. They would have to make some cutbacks from their currency manipulation. They'd have to curb some, but not all, of their theft of intellectual property, and stuff would go on as normal. And then at the last minute, Trump threw in a monkey wrench and said he wants a complete review of this, and he wants far firmer crackdowns on China. And he did it with an accompanying threat that was devastating to China. Trump now has imposed a tariff of 25% on 50 billion of Chinese exports, and another tariff of 10% on 200 billion of Chinese exports. What he's saying he's going to do now is impose 25% on the whole 250, and he's going to impose a 25% tariff on the remaining 325 billion of Chinese exports that are now not subject to any tariff. So the total of tariffed goods will exceed $600 billion. And for an economy of China's size, which is about $13 trillion, that's pretty heavy. That's 5% of their GDP. It's an enormous hit for their economy, and it threw their stock market into a total tizzy when Trump did this. Now, the amazing thing about this trade war so far has been its lack of impact on the U.S. economy. The GDP is chugging along, soaring along at over a 3% rate. The job creation numbers are running at over 200,000 a month. And it's clear that the whole worry, the hand-wringing that went on for years about, oh, please don't offend China, was absolute nonsense. Our deficit has not exploded. Nobody is calling our loans. China is not pulling the plug on us because they can't. They won't because they can't. And all of those threats turned out not to be true. But the idea that the U.S. could cripple the Chinese economy is completely true. And the idea that we can do it without a significant blowback is truer today than it ever was. Now, China is trying to retaliate by freaking the American stock market. Many of those are Chinese-run, Chinese-owned companies. Many of them are American companies that do a lot of business in China, and the Chinese political operatives are trying to freak the U.S. stock market by manipulating our stock prices. And that we took a little hit of a few hundred points, and it'll go on for a couple of days, but Trump doesn't care, and it's not bothering him. But he's approaching the goal of really changing in a fundamental way the whole economic relationship between the U.S. and China, and thereby curbing a great deal of Chinese imperialism and the Chinese aspirations for global dominance. Trump is really confronting this issue and doing a hell of a job of it. And it is an absolute joy and pleasure to watch Donald Trump face off with somebody and finally master the Chinese in his economic efforts. I've just written a new book, 50 Shades of Politics, which is unlike anything I've written before. It's a series of 100 short, 2 pages each, autobiographic essays and stories and vignettes and tales from my career in politics, my time with Clinton, my work in 40 countries around the world and in every state in the country. You can't buy it in bookstores, but you can online at Amazon.com. Thanks for watching.